Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin was operating within this very, very sloppy wedge, but a wedge nonetheless, guys. A series of lower highs, higher lows, reaching the apex. We expected a breakout. We got the breakout. I told you yesterday we'd be looking for a breakout probably within the next, I think I said 12 to 24 hours, somewhere thereabouts, guys. Looks like this breakout did happen about within that time range, very, very close to that 18-hour mark. It looks like we are now finding support right on top of our ascending support line that I had drawn out yesterday. Now, if we break this ascending support line, that doesn't mean that all is done and we are heading down much, much lower. I do think if this support line breaks, as I told you yesterday, if we do break down below about, I think I said 10,800, we'll very likely find ourselves down here at 10,400. I still do think that's the case. If we do decisively break below this trend line, again, by decisively, I mean a 4-hour open and close below this trend line, very likely we'll find ourselves down here at about 10,400 at least. Is that going to hold? Yes, we could be setting up, and I don't mean yes, but I mean, thinking out loud here, we could be setting up for a nice little double bottom here on the smaller time frames, and then a continuation back up to test the $11,500 zone. That's a real possibility here. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. If we do have a 4-hour open and close below 10,400, yes, of course, I think we're going to come down here and test at least 10,000. 10,000 would close the gap on CMEs, and we could find some support there. I don't want to rule out finding support there at that 10,000, but I think a more likely scenario, if we do break down decisively below 10,400, is coming down to test that $9,400 area. Stand by, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to pause the video real quick and grab that phone call. Where was I here? So yeah, if we do break below this ascending support line, 10,400 be the first target, possible double bottom. Below that, possibly bouncing off that 10,000 area, as I said, to close the CME gap, but I think more likely 9,400. And if we go out to the daily chart here, and we look at the overall structure, and we go from the swing low of this latest structure here, so the prior swing low to the current swing high. I know I've pointed this out before, but just indulge me here. We can see that this correction came down, hit perfectly right there at the 0.5, and we can also see that if that does break down, if we do break down below that 0.5 level, the next major fib level is going to be lining up perfectly with that 9,400 area. That golden ratio, the 618, is going to be lining up perfectly with that 9,400, as well as the golden pocket, which is between the golden ratio and the 6.5 fib level. That lines up perfectly with the last major area of consolidation back here on June 17th, 18th, and 19th. That created that ascending triangle here, and that we broke up from. So those are the areas that I'm watching very, very closely. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. If this ascending support line can hold here, that's going to be an extremely bullish sign. Like I said, this breakdown does not bother me in the least as of yet. Now, again, if we start breaking down below this ascending support line, certainly gets my attention. If we break down below 10,400, very much so gets my attention. But right now, there's no reason to panic. In my opinion, we'll have to wait and see kind of how this plays out. Now, we did get some breakout on volume. If I come in here to the hourly, you can see it a little bit more. We can see, as I pointed out yesterday, that volume was slowly starting to decrease. You can even see it on the 4-hour here, even better on the 4-hour. Total volume just slowly starting to tick down here, and we just had this little breakout from that bottom, kind of bottoming out here. So this did break out on a little bit of volume. Now, was it massive? No. Again, we're only looking at the smaller time frames here, but nonetheless, it was a breakout on some volume, so it is to be respected. So let's wait and see how this plays out. If this can get bought up, if we do not get a decisive break below, now again we can accept a little wick here, but if we don't get a decisive break below this ascending support line, again I would have to say that is a very big sign of strength, a very good sign of strength, I should say. All right, let's look at the 4-hour here. Told you yesterday we were starting to see the Bollinger Band start to constrict on the 4-hour chart there, and of course that was denoting a larger move to come. We were starting to see the moving averages and exponential moving averages also converging, also a sign that we were getting ready to move. And of course, now we're seeing that move. We're rejecting right off the bottom Bollinger Band now. Again, if this can hold, that is a bullish sign of strength. Let's wait and see kind of how that plays out. What I don't like is that we've got now the 8-period EMA on the 4-hour chart crossing below the 21. That is a sign of weakness, but again, we're only seeing that on the 4-hour chart. Let's go ahead and look at the daily. daily chart, we are now trading below the 8-day EMA, which, you know, that's fine. I can accept that, no problem. But it's this 21-day EMA that's going to get my attention if we do break below it decisively. I can accept a wick below that and even call that a nice healthy correction. But if we get a daily candle both opening and closing below the 21-day EMA, guys, that would not be a good sign. And that sits right around that $10,400 mark. So let's wait and see how this plays out. Again, I can accept a wick below there, but if we get a daily candle closing, it'll certainly get my attention. If we get a daily candle both opening and closing below that, that's going to tell me that we may have a much deeper correction in our future. All right, looking at the weekly chart, this is, you know, this is looking a little more like a top. Let's wait and see where this ends up closing. What I would like to see happen on this chart, guys, what I really wanted to see happen is I wanted to see this weekly candle close above 11,500. Why 11,500? I want to see that because if I go over here and I look at the last swing high from this, you know, going back to the bear market of 2018. The last prior swing high that we have yet to take out was right here at almost exactly 11,500. That was also a swing high back in January of 18. It was a swing high again in February of 18. So just looking right here, we can see that is basically the swing high that price needs to close above on the weekly chart. If the weekly chart can close above this, that is an extremely bullish sign. If not, it might denote a top here. So let's wait and see how it plays out. The fact that we are trading below that there, whoop, sorry about that. The fact that we are trading below that right now, guys, you know, is not a great sign. Again, it does denote a possible correction here in the future, but again, we have not closed yet, so let's wait and see how this does close. Let's go ahead and look at longs and shorts. You know, shorts still basically just trading sideways, enjoying their, you know, enjoying being in profit. I'm sure that their stop losses have been lowered. So you know, if price was to rise here, you could probably liquidate these shorts at a much lower price. But let's wait and see. Right now, they're just kind of hanging out, enjoying being in profit. Longs basically just sitting sideways after being just slaughtered. And again, guys, that typically would suggest a break to the upside. Now, it doesn't mean that has to happen. This is just one indicator in many indicators. Certainly it doesn't mean this has to happen, but you know, it's very interesting that we do have a nice, you know, $10,000 gap between longs and shorts right now. Or I should say a gap of 10,000 between longs and shorts right now. Pulling out on the monthly chart still does not look bad, guys. Overall, the monthly chart does look good. We are still trading above the prior high on the monthly, which is right around $10,400, really just below that, $10,362 to be precise. So as long as this monthly closes above that, and you know, right now that, you know, it's possible it won't. Let's wait and see how this plays out. But as long as this monthly chart does close above 10,400, you know, the overall long-term trend of this thing does look extremely bullish. And even if we did close below that, I would say the overall trend still looks extremely bullish. It would just look like we're going to have a correction in the short term here. We'd actually have to close below about $9,200 before I'd start to get concerned on the larger time frames here. Zooming out on the weekly, checking our indicators very quickly. Weekly RSI, again, showing a little bit of potential bearish divergence there, guys. You know, almost a double top here, very small double top here, which again, if we look at this in conjunction with price action, that would technically be some bearish divergence if we can get that confirmed. Not confirmed yet, but certainly showing some leg, as I like to say. Stokes look fine. Let's go ahead, or excuse me, the MACD looks fine. Let's go ahead and look at the daily. Yeah, I mean, daily looks okay. Looks, you know, still I would call that a healthy correction. Not until we do break below about 50 on the daily RSI, I might even start to get concerned. We do have the signal line about to cross above or below the signal and MACD line about to cross. Histogram about to cross into bearish territory. Let's wait and see if that does end up happening. Let's look at the 4 hour. 4 hour is 4 hour pretty neutral. Not looking 4 hour RSI not looking great. 4 hour MACD, I don't put a lot of weight on that at all. But the 4 hour RSI looking fairly neutral to maybe a little bit bearish, but again, only on the 4 hour, so you know, still plenty of time to turn that around. So let's wait and see how this ends up playing out. But yeah, certainly those two these pivot points or excuse me, these key areas that I've been discussing, this ascending support line, 10,400, and then impossible drop down to 9,400, where I will be a buyer at 9,400, which if you remember, that's 618 fib level, guys. I will certainly be a buyer there if and when we do come down there to the upside. If we do break above about 12,500, then I'm going to look for a rise to probably 13,000, as I said yesterday. Now 12,800 is still fairly relevant. If you were trying to take a trade off of a breakup above 12,500, I'd very likely front run the getting out of that trade at about 12,800, and I do suspect that a lot of people will be front running that. We'll have to wait and see kind of how that plays out. I do think that caution is the name of the game right now until we actually take out this prior local high of about 13,800, and then we could get the lid blown off this thing if we get a decisive break above that. By decisive, I mean a daily open and close above 13,800 with a front run by a 4-hour open and close if you want to take a little more risk. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap Bitcoin there. Let's quickly look at some of your comments. 12th Group says, Workin, please don't slow down your talking, as some of the comments suggest. I usually listen to other channels at 2 times and like yours at normal. All right, fair enough. I will not do that. Max Dapp says, always great, consistent price analysis for Bitcoin Workin. Best place on YouTube to get no BS trading updates. I appreciate that, Max Dapp. Thank you very much. Jerry Metzler says, thanks a lot for the updates. You're welcome, Jerry. MagTibo2 says, everyone wants an 8K to 9K Bitcoin. Makes me think we're not going to get it. Hey, valid point. Valid point. If everybody's looking at one thing, market makers often drive things in the other direction. Again, a very, very valid point. That being said, I have to say that it does seem to me that we've got a pretty fair split of bulls and bears on the short term. I think most people are bullish long term, but I think on the short term here, we have pretty fair split as whether or not we're going to take out that $13,800 high, or whether or not we're going to come back down to at least 10,000 and close those CME gaps. So we'll wait and see. But your sentiment, your point is well taken. If everybody's looking at one thing, often it goes in the other direction. All right, 55 miles per hour says, no one is talking about Ethereum. Their 2.0 blueprint is due, and it's a game changer for ETH holders. I mean, Ethereum's doing some cool things, and I do think I like actually the action of Ethereum lately, kind of starting to split off from other altcoins. I think that bodes well for Ethereum and its strength. Scott Lee says, are we able to follow your charts on TradingView? Not yet. I may do that in the future. I use two separate accounts, one for trading and then one for this, two separate computers, two separate internet IP addresses, two separate everything for this. And I just don't like to mix the two. I know that sounds strange, but I have my reasons. And I'm a little bit paranoid when it comes to that, Scott. But maybe in the future I may do that. All right, Kevin says, sending you a tip as soon as Coinbase whitelist your address. Thanks for that. I actually misunderstood. Sorry, Kevin, misunderstood this initially when you and I had that conversation. But I appreciate the tip. Thank you. Actually, thank you very, very much for the tip, Kevin. I really, really, really do appreciate that. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see, Mr. Miyagi? Or Miyagi. I just had to say it, and I knew exactly what you were referring to, man. Hey, that's my generation, man. Karate Kid. Wax on, wax off, baby. All right, it's making higher lows on the 4-hour chart, maybe forming an ascending triangle. Yeah, as I said, I think I replied to you already. It looks more like a regular old wedge. Lower highs, higher lows, which is an equal opportunity break to the upper downside. So I think we discussed that. Let's see. Daniel says, hi, Workin. Thanks a lot for your dedication and great analysis. Watch both you and Optical. Thanks to him, I learned about you. Maybe you would take a few minutes in your next video and talk about the altcoins or the coins, any of your choice, which you believe are great long-term investment. Would be very interesting to hear from you. Love the community here. Wish it continues to grow in this direction. Have a great day, buddy. Hey, I appreciate that, Daniel, and you have a great day as well, my friend. Appreciate the support. And yeah, Optical Art's a great guy, man. A great guy. Great guy. I owe him a lot of my followers, and I think he has a very, very interesting channel. I mean, I enjoy his videos very much. And as far as what altcoins do I hold, again, I don't ever want to give you financial advice. I don't ever want to tell you this is what you should be buying. This is what's a great investment. Yada yada yada. I can only tell you what I'm doing, and if you find that interesting, that's great. I'm not a financial advisor. I never ever give financial advice. But some of the altcoins that I've held, and I think I addressed some of this earlier. I think EOS is a great project. Again, this is just my personal opinion. You can completely disagree with me on this. And my largest position is in Bitcoin, without question. I think Bitcoin is the only thing that is as close to a sure thing, where nothing is a sure thing in crypto, but as close to a sure thing as you can get. But other than that, yeah, I do hold Ethereum, as we talked about earlier. I do have good Excuse me. I do have high hopes for Ethereum. I do hold a lot of EOS. I do think EOS is an excellent project, even though I don't really agree with some of the centralization or what I perceive as centralization of that coin. I do think as far as financially, it's a very good investment for me personally. You have to make your own decision. Litecoin, I do think Litecoin is going to do very well. I hold a lot of Litecoin. The coin everybody loves to hate, Ripple. I have trouble betting against Ripple just because there's so much money and so much name recognition behind that. That being said, I agree. I know what most of you are thinking. It's a centralized coin, and we're trying to get away from that in crypto. Completely 100% agree. But from a completely financial investment rate of return standpoint, I just don't want to bet against it yet. Do I think it's going to last in the long term? No. I think most centralized things are going to go by the wayside. That being said, I do think that it has the potential to go much, much higher from its current price point. So from a purely financial standpoint, I do hold Ripple. Again, and I could be completely wrong on that. I could be completely wrong on that. We'll have to wait and see. But you asked, so there you go. I do hold VeChain. I do think VeChain is a good investment. I do hold Stellar. I actually think that Jeb McCain is a genius, and I do think that even though it doesn't look great right now, I understand that, but I do think it's kind of a potentially a sleeping giant. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. And again, I know that's controversial. But again, you asked, so there you go. I do hold BitTorrent as well. BitTorrent, I think, is an excellent potential project. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. So I do hold that, and I do hold a little bit of Cosmos as well. So there you go. All right, T Gribble says, thanks for the input. Looks like downward force is weighing out the bulls. Shaky hands in the game. Still have the previous fall. I'm thinking lower lastly if we break below the 200-day moving average on the one-day chart on the way down to the 7,000s in the near future somewhere. We could see a lower all-time low. I don't know about a lower. It depends on what you mean by lower all-time low. I'm assuming you mean the lower a lower low with regard to the 2018 low. And yes, if we do break below 7,000, I would say more like 6,700. But yeah, I agree. Breaking down below that 200-day moving average would be very on the daily chart. That 200-day moving average. That would be very, very significant. That would be a sign that maybe this entire run has been nothing but a a bear market rally. We'll have to wait and see kind of how that plays out, but I would agree with your sentiment there. Duggo says, even though I'm not in that camp, guys, I don't think that this is a bear market rally. If we did break below that 200-day moving average, yes, that would be a sign that it was, in fact, a bear market rally. But, of course, we're nowhere near there yet. Doug says, thanks for you're welcome, Doug. Thanks for always stopping by, man. Belicious Radicus, am I saying that right? Says, nice analysis. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Todd says, thank you. Thank you, Todd. 880 says, always so on point with your analysis. Thanks, man. Do you always trade against USDT for altcoins? BTC looking bearish today at key point for the weekly and the monthly close. Bulls are nowhere near to be seen today. Yeah, not yet. They certainly haven't shown up today. Let's wait and see if they can if they will end up showing up here. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying the kind words. 880. I appreciate always stopping by. Yeah. Do I use Tether? I very, very, very much do not like Tether. I really don't. It may end up surviving. It probably will end up surviving, but I'm not a fan of Tether. I try not to use it. That being said, do I sometimes use it every now and then? Every now and then. Yeah, every now and then, but I try not to use it. I try to trade a lot of my altcoins if I can do it in USD. But if I can't do it on USD, yes, I'll either use Tether because it's typically the most liquid account, or I'll use Bitcoin. But yeah. I do sometimes use it, but no, I do not like it at all. All right, Erno Raz says, "Hey, Workin, thanks for your words. Would you please share your thoughts on Zcash, but on a BTC pair, not on a USD? I see you also have Zcash address, so I suppose you like this coin. Many thanks in advance. I think maybe we just going to switch to bullish on it, and we'll have a Ycash fork a bit more than 2 weeks from now. Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Still in a bear market. However, I can see. Also imagine the opposite, which is more likely. Time, volume, price point of view. We won't see four-figure BTC again. Wish you all the best, and thanks again. We won't see a four-figure BTC again. Yeah, we may not see a four-figure BTC again. We'll have to wait and see. I think eventually we will. I think those CME gaps are going to get closed. As far as Zcash against BTC, let me take a look. All right, looking at Zcash against BTC. Nothing looks great against BTC right now. I mean, BTC is just dominating the market, and most altcoins do not look very good about it. I will say, yeah, it does look like it hit a potential bottom there. Not a, I don't even want to. I don't even know if I can call that a bottom. Certainly potential support though at about what is that at 8. It's only showing me about 830. So what is that? If that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if I added to that 8 separate places, we're going to put that's at about 830 Satoshi. So yeah, 830 Satoshi. It looks like it had some decent support there. Certainly in a consolidation pattern right now. Looks like it does actually want to move here in the short term. Sitting right, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing potentially break back up and test about man. Yeah, it's currently sitting at about 945,000 Satoshi. I wouldn't be surprised to see it test about 1 million Satoshi there. And we'll have to wait and see kind of how it plays out at that point. If we can break above 1 million Satoshi, I do think that it very likely climbs to about, I would say about 1,100,000 Satoshi. If it can get above 1 million, it has that potential. I don't want to, again, I don't want to make a call. To the downside, if we do break down below about 900,000 Satoshi, I do think it wants to come back down and retest that about 830,000 Satoshi, and we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. If we get a daily candle opening and closing below that, there's just, unfortunately, there's not much of a bottom. If I come out here and look at, whoa, what the hell is that? Shit. Look at, excuse my language, guys. I don't like to use language on this. I don't like to offend anybody. Yeah, that is a nasty wick, man. Kraken is just, wow. Wow, that's a nasty wick. Wow, that's a nasty wick. Anyway, that was back in January of 2018. As of right now, though, overall trend, again, still extremely bearish. Are we bottoming out here? Let me look at the weekly. Yeah, I just can't call that a bottom yet. Maybe, potentially. We'll have to wait and see. Looking at the weekly, we need to get above at least about 1 million Satoshi, as I said before, at least. And as I said before, if we do break down below about 800, I would say even 850,000 Satoshi, we have a good chance of creating a new low. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.